What's going on, everyone? My name is Nicholas Merton here at DataDash, and today is April 26th of 2021. Well, folks, I hope you are having a fantastic day wherever you are. And in today's video, I want to dive straight into talking about the liquidity flow that we're currently seeing from Bitcoin to the altcoin space, as Bitcoin very clearly has signaled its first lower low over the year as it's been continuing to ascend higher. We're starting to see the early stages of Bitcoin starting to wane and go sideways, possibly entering into a correction, and then leaving liquidity to flow into other more risky plays throughout the market, and the altcoin space more predominantly. So we're going to be diving into the signs of this, analyzing the market, as well as doing a sponsored review of Unilateral, protocol built on top of the Uniswap protocol to add more trading functionality and more analytics. So stay tuned for that. You won't want to miss it. All right, guys, so let's go ahead and dive straight into the market analysis here. Taking a look over the last 24 hours, we can not only see that the large three cap, kind of cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Binance Coin have all been doing well, but the broader cryptocurrency space is experiencing near double-digit territory to the upside, with very few players down here in the red, right? So we can see that, as again, one little thing just to note here, as we talked about a couple videos ago, right? As Dogecoin down here has been relatively negative over the last couple of days. Some of that liquidity has flown out from around the 40-cent range down to 26 cents. We are now starting to see a lot of plays start to capture the additional liquidity. People who made the winning side of that trade are now going out into a variety of other players in the market. And they're now aiming to capture on investing in other different types of cryptocurrencies, right? So again, we need to understand how that liquidity flow actually operates, and we need to know what plays it's going into. Right. So let's just go ahead and take a look here at Bitcoin to further visualize this. We did this in our last video here. And again, we did our video the other day. I think a lot of us were in the panic seat, worrying about Bitcoin collapsing in price and thinking, oh my gosh, I think a lot of people, what they generally imagine at the end of the day, especially if it's their first go around in the market, but even some of us, I think we always worry of the doomsday scenario where it literally just goes down all the way down to the previous all-time highs. And that's likely not going to happen with Bitcoin. But what I do want to emphasize here, and what you'll see on the chart, is what's much more likely to happen here. Right, as we are going into these early stages of an altcoin cycle here, where we really get, I think, even though altcoin dominance, as I'll point out, is actually around our kind of conservative target range, while there still might be more time where that dominance range holds and liquidity cycles in and out of different altcoins, but there also might be a chance for dominance in general to increase, is because we're starting to see the initial stages here of liquidity flow out of Bitcoin. Right, so let's say, for example, here we turn off our chart, right? We can see here that we've got our first lower low here. We had higher lows out throughout the entire rally here in 2021, and now we've had a lower one here. The idea here is that price is going to recover here. It's going to probably jolt back up, and maybe even up to a big even level like 60K or 55K. That being realized, this is lower than the previous highs of around $65,000 per Bitcoin. And this is a clear top signal here that the trend is starting to reverse, right? And again, don't worry about the exact pinpoints on price, guys. It's just a general mock-up. But what I'm basically showcasing here is that unlike here where we had higher lows and higher highs on the significant price variance here for the trend, where we had this kind of line of growth here that was slowing in growth over time, we've now started to break away from that, and we're reversing the trend of having lower highs and lower lows. Right? So again, as this starts to go downward, liquidity is going to start to circulate, and interest is going to circulate into other cryptocurrency plays in the market. Don't believe me? Well, let's just go ahead and take a look at some of the plays across the board in the crypto space. First off, before we do that, let's take a look at altcoin dominance. Altcoin dominance really has been holding up neutral up here in this market of red here, right, when it regards to Bitcoin, right? Even though US dollar terms, yeah, things might be going down, it tends to be that altcoins usually go down faster than Bitcoin during sell-offs. But this time around, we're actually seeing that day by day, we're pressing up against this historic resistance that usually weighs down price. And I'll go ahead and just kind of zoom out so you guys can see this. We're going to take it here to the weekly, right? We've been going through the secondary half of the altcoin cycle that kicked off here in late March, and we're holding up against this point of resistance. If we pop up above here, right, we might go test all the way up here to one of these higher ranges, or at least just set in a higher level here. But even if we don't, right, altcoins aren't faring that bad here. In fact, if anything, liquidity is just circulating from one altcoin play to another. Let's take a look here at Ethereum, right? Ethereum now actually making its previous resistance against Bitcoin here, right, in early February 2021. Now it looks like today's pullback of about 2% is making its support. Who knows how it's going to end at the end of the day, but again, we recovered any losses against Bitcoin here and are back up to fresh highs for the year, roughly speaking, right? Again, continuing on with this trend that we've been doing since back in 2019, right? Of general higher highs and higher lows, right? Playing it out just as expected. Take a look at Uni here over the last week, up nearly 25% here over the last week here in price, and breaking out of an ascending wedge here, ascending triangle, higher lows, generally consistent resistance range. We'll take a look at the daily just to make it a bit more clear, right? This was the general range here around 62,000 sats where we got weighed down. If you even wanted to look at it as a wedge with the lowering highs, higher lows, break out above it, made it support, and now we're climbing higher, right? So again, the day-to-day movements when Uni's down 3 or 5% or up, 8, 9%, it doesn't really matter. It's the broader trend here. And overall, it's up around 25% here, right? So again, Uni, another major cryptocurrency play, right? In the DeFi space, doing well. Take a look at BNB. BNB had another 20% week against Bitcoin, right? So the BNB ecosystem, again, is still garnering traction. People are still buying BNB, right? These are all signs here that very clearly liquidity is shifting towards the altcoin market. It's a very important market dynamic to keep in mind when you're making trades and you're positioning yourselves. And again, not to get too fearful about the short-term moves in the market. Now, one thing that I want to jump into here, guys, as we've kind of talked about all these different kind of various places in the market, you guys know where I'm positioned. I've talked a lot about the rebasing currencies. I still have a large position in Uni. There's a variety of other cryptocurrencies out there that are looking really good in the market. And I'm someone, again, who I want to be completely transparent with you guys. I put my money where my mouth is, where I believe the market's going, right? But there's one thing I wanted to dive into today, which is our sponsor, and that is Unilateral. And just kind of talk about how there's a variety of interesting protocols out there in the market that you should keep an eye on, or a variety of tools that you should use at your disposal to keep on top of the altcoin space, as we're still very much in a period where altcoins are starting to favor well in the market. They're starting to re-outpace Bitcoin. And the one I want to talk about today is Unilateral. Now, as a pretty, well, I wouldn't say I'm an active trader as much as I used to be. I do like to, for example, build kind of sizable positions and a variety of investments that I think will do well over a 3, 6, 12-month period, right? Overall, as someone who likes to swing trade, charting and general order types are very important to me, all right? And the really cool thing about protocols like Uniswap, as I just mentioned, I'm pretty heavily invested in the Uniswap protocol. I love Uniswap as an application. We have it integrated in Digifox, right? I love the Uniswap protocol and other automated market makers. But one of the problems is that with Uniswap, whether it be the interface and the information that you can gather, or the sheer fact that it's simply built around market orders, the problem here is that there's a lot of limitations, and it a little bit doesn't really jive well with the traditional trading experience where you're used to having various order types or having a much more in-depth visual interface to actually trade the markets and get an idea of what's going on in the dexes rather than just seeing the current pair that you should be receiving, right? So let's go ahead and dive straight into it, right? Unilateral is a really, really cool platform in the sense that it gives you those visualizations. So they always, of course, default to the layer token here, which we'll talk about a little bit here, which is the native platform token. We can see here, this is a standard trading view interface here. We've got all of our standard tools that you guys are very familiar with here with my channel, right? Where you can draw uptrend lines here on the chart, right? We can draw support and resistance, etc. And outside of that as well, we can bring in our favorite indicators. So if I want to, for example, pull in the MACD, I can do that on some of my favorite DeFi tokens here, right? You can see it pops up here below the chart. And we can even go full screen if you want, do all the standard things we would do normally in TradingView. Get some really important metrics here of the current US dollar price, volume over the last 24 hours, total liquidity, and the highs and the lows over the last 24 hours. We can see here the trade history, and this is all immutable on chain, so we can actually go and see those records. We can see the order book as well, all right? The limit orders that people are placing here. Now I'll dive into that as we actually talk about, placing those trades, right? So we've got a list of tokens here, some of the more popular ones. We can search specific tokens. So if I was looking, for example, for the Uni token, I can type in Uni. And what it's going to do here is it's going to bring up all the different trading pairs here that I can trade, right? Uni, ETH, and outside of that as well. Again, seeing as that's the major pool here with Uni, right? It's going to start bringing up some maybe other additional cryptocurrencies, right? So outside of this as well, we've also got where the actual order placing is. And this is something that Unilateral, and I think there's maybe a few other types of protocols out there, but I think Unilateral by far has garnered the most traction in providing the service that isn't offered natively through the Uniswap platform. And that's the ability to actually place limit orders, right? So the difference between a market and limit order, and many of you are probably more familiar with market orders. Market orders are when you just say, look, I want to fill this order and I want to fill it now. Like whatever the price is, whatever the limit order is on the order book on the ask side. So this is a seller who's willing to sell a certain price. It's like, look, I want to buy this right now. And you're probably going to pay a little bit over the market price in this case in most occasions, right? Let's say, for example, like maybe, for example, I wanted to trade the layer token or I want to trade uni token or something like that. But you know what? I want to buy some, but I don't want to buy unless it comes down to a certain price. Maybe I'm waiting for like a 10% dip, right? The unfortunate thing about AMMs like Uniswap is that if you're just using Uniswap, you have to wait until it gets down there and manually place that market order at the time. And who knows, maybe another buyer comes in before you. Maybe you don't get the alert in time, right? And the same thing goes here for selling, right? Maybe your coin hits a certain target price you've been waiting for, but then someone else takes the opportunity, right? A limit order makes sure that you are placed in to get that sell in at the time the price is hit. That it fulfills when a buyer is pushing the price up higher and willing to pay the cost that you're willing to sell at, right? So again, you can do standard market orders here and utilize the good benefits of the interface here. But outside of this as well, we've also got the limit order here, right? And outside of that as well, some general info on the actual layer address in this case, the pair address here for the pool, the ETH address here for the token contract, right? All types of really interesting things, as well as social media and website info. So a lot of things that you just don't get from Uniswap that are actually really helpful. And I say this as someone who's used Uniswap for a couple of years now. Like, it's a great protocol, right? It does what it's supposed to do, but it doesn't give you the trading interface that people have come to know and love with traditional platforms. And though I think there are some ways that it can improve and stuff overall, again, you just simply connect your wallet and start placing limit order trades. It's very, very nice. You can see the sell orders, the buy orders, whole order book here, the whole shebang. Now, what's really nice here, and this is something that I personally wanted to share that I think is really, really cool about the protocol, is that as you go through here, they have a variety of explorers, which to me is very important as I'm making trades across the board. I want to see how liquidity is flowing. I want to see what pools I have available to me, what tokens there are out there. And what's really great is that I can search up, for example, as I did earlier, right? I can search up Uni here, and it's going to bring up a variety of different pools, but they pull from a variety of different chains. And this is something, again, that in this case, Unilateral is trying to bring in a variety of different chains here as we'll dive into it and give you as much visualization to as many AMMs as possible. So again, you can search up specific pools here or types of tokens. They have another explorer here, which is a pool scanner. So you can, again, just basically scan over a variety of pools and dive straight into the actual Uniswap info or dive into the Etherscan here where you can see on-chain information. And my favorite one here is the whale scan. So let's say, for example, I wanted to see, let's say I only want to see recent orders where someone is trading more than $1 million. I want to see where the big traders are trading, right? And I can see here that someone made a massive $1 million plus buy order on Uni. And there's also been some trades here on Wrap Bitcoin and DAI, right? This might be a little too high. Maybe I want to do 500,000, right? Again, if we go through here on the actual chart, right, we can start to see that there's a major buy order for the Shiba token, Rai token, Uni, and we can see also sell orders here, right? We can see how it basically played out. We can go view the actual transaction on chain, which can provide a ton of information. This is a real gold mine of information that, again, Uniswap doesn't provide these types of metrics, or at least they don't make it simple to find it. And again, I have to say hats off to the Unilateral team. The simple things like this go a long way as a trader. Now, one thing that is important to note is that there is a Unilateral token in this case. It's a native kind of utility token for the platform, but I did want to emphasize here something very important. And not only is this one of many DeFi coins, again, that I think will start to emerge and might grow very well if the Uniswap protocol continues to grow, as it might be an additional layer on top of it. But putting that aside, whether or not the Unilateral is going to succeed or not in regards to its token, I wanted to talk about something that's really interesting. They're actually launching their own automated market maker. And this is one that's going to be built on top of the Huobi chain ecosystem. So again, originating from Huobi, one of the large cryptocurrency companies. And this is what's known as MakiSwap. Now, the overall thing here is, I'm assuming from Huobi Chain, is that they're going to be able to provide not only a vast array of scalability comparative to the Ethereum chain, very similar to Binance Smart Chain, but outside of this as well, they are doing an actual snapshot token airdrop in this case. So if you guys want, highly recommend you guys read into the Medium article here from Unilateral. There are some certain requirements to it, but people who are holders of the Layer token will be able to actually get some of these tokens if they meet those certain requirements. So anyways, overall guys, again, I just wanted to showcase Unilateral here today. I think that the pros of this is that it gives a lot more expected functionality that Uniswap should provide, and it fills a really needed market for people who are active on trading on AMMs. I love trading on AMMs, right? I think, again, the future is decentralized exchanges. Uniswap has changed the game, but there's still a lot of tools that are required here in order to give that trading experience, and I think Unilateral's done a great job of that. Going forward and stuff, overall, like, I think they've got a pretty good range of different products, but I'm really interested to see how the AMM is going to work out. Again, to learn a little bit more about how Huobi is actually building or providing the ecosystem to build this chain. Again, how decentralized is it? Stuff like that is kind of on my mind when it comes to the AMM. But outside of that, again, when it comes to Unilayer, it's been a pretty good time-tested solution where people are actually placing limit trades and actually being able to have more functionality on top of AMMs. Pretty cool use case in my opinion. I think it's a really cool project. So again, you guys take a look through it for yourselves, make your own judgment call on it, give it a go if you want. But anyways, that's it for today's video, everyone. Thank you all so much for listening to me ramble. As always, if you like this video, drop a like down below, and also leave a comment if you got something to say, whether you agree with what I said or if you wanted to counter it with something or maybe hit on another point that I didn't cover in today's video. That being said, guys, I hope you're having a great start to your week, and I'll see you all in the next one. Take care, everyone.